What is good? I am back. It's me, Iconic Jesse Icon, making another short video clip of Elder Scrolls Online. I thought I'd post both of these content clips that I had tonight, just getting some of the free memory space out. But yeah, went in a dungeon with a group of kids, and it kind of has something to do with the last clip I posted, because I put on there, I said something about how I met some kids online. We did a duel. So this same kid that I did a duel with that lasted for 30 minutes, we actually ended up partying up and going into a dungeon and trying to get farther through a dungeon, trying to get a lot of the XP that you get from a dungeon, all the quest items that you get from a dungeon, and yeah, it's just a lot of XP. You can get about 2 to 3 champion levels if you complete a dungeon in a party with a group of people. Especially some of these harder dungeons. This is one of the very hard dungeons to get past, because we had a bunch of champion level characters go into this dungeon, and I don't know if it's in the end of this clip or not, but we got to one of the bosses that we just couldn't get past. It was really bad. It was super horrible. So definitely was not too fun. Surprising for how high of a level each character was. It was pretty funny though when we were doing one of the last bosses that we got to, because we got it all the way down to like 0 health and like almost like a sliver of health left, and then one of the characters that was playing with us dropped his controller, or he left his controller, he set down his controller, and he said, "I'd be right back," and he was back in 5 minutes, and then we had already died by that time. So it was just pretty upsetting, but not a big deal. That's just how the game rolls sometimes, and we did get a lot of experience for defeating the enemies that we did. I got a lot of good gear. I upgraded my character quite a few times after this dungeon, and now I'm all set to play for next time I get on ESO. So I did get on a little bit tonight. I upgraded my horse and got my mail for the carriers that give you resources and components to upgrade your character, because you can get you can get people to mail you stuff from like little resource hirelings that grab you resources. But as you can see, my character's armor is just massive. I can stand in these flames that are doing crazy amounts of damage and still survive through it. I think he's got some elemental defense on my champion points that help me take less damage from fire. I haven't even needed to heal at all, and I can just stand and take all of that damage that these flames are giving, and do a lot of damage to bosses. Like I said, this is my PvE character, so definitely got some very powerful armor on now. He has a different set than my last video clip, because I actually did some upgrading after these kids basically invited me to the party. I did some crafting and got a new set of armor that basically makes him way more powerful than he is. And then I don't know by the end of this clip or not, I do change one of my skills around while I'm in this dungeon that helps me defeat large groups of enemies. It puts a slow cast spell on them, and it also does 903 damage per second. It's one of the last skills that you get for one of the character classes that you get. Mine's a Dragon Warrior, so I'm like Dragon Warrior or Dragon Knight, and one of the Dragon Knight subclasses that you have for your character. One of the last skills that you get that I haven't been using. I don't know why I haven't been using it, but it's a Shadow Cast, and it slows the enemies down and does 903 damage per second. So it's a pretty decent ability. I'm using it now instead of the Flame enchantment, which enchants 603 flame damage or something, or 1,400 flame damage to my weapon every time I attack, because I already have an enchantment on my weapon. And from what this group of players told me is that if you have an enchantment on your weapon and you try to enchant it with it, so if you have a frost enchantment, for example, and you try to enchant it with flame, it doesn't do any additional damage because the flame cancels out the frost. So that's what they said. I'm not sure if that's completely 100% true because it doesn't sound like it is. But I went the wrong way in the dungeon. You're supposed to follow a certain pathway to get to where you're going. It kind of glitched out right there, but we're supposed to activate all these little pillar points and it opens up a door. Then we go further into the dungeon. But hopefully we get to that boss that I was talking about. It's this lady that literally spawns minions on your character, and it's just a very difficult boss to defeat. With that change skill and with all of our with our healer healing us, we could have defeated the boss. The only problem was that when our healer decided to set down his controller for a few minutes and walk into the other room right when we almost had defeated the boss, it was just like game over for us. It reminds me of a Leroy Jenkins moment where Leroy Jenkins runs in and gets everyone killed. Except it was different. The character said I'd be right back, and then he got everyone killed. So, anyways, I mean, death is pretty much a common thing in a dungeon, especially one of these harder dungeons, because some of the enemies, even the smaller enemies, do a massive amount of damage if you don't have your champion level completely up. So, yeah, I'd recommend almost being champion level 100 to 150 to do certain dungeons. And always go in with four of same like level players, because some of these players are less level and it's easier for them to die. So once one of the lower level players dies, or two of the lower level players die, it makes it a bigger burden on your character to defeat the enemies. So I was one of the highest champion levels here. There was another champion level 102. I'm the level champion level 92. And then there was a level 41 and a level 46. So that's who we went in here with, and we should have been able to defeat this dungeon, to be honest, with our levels being as high as they were. It's just, I don't know. We weren't having good communication going on. I mean, we were laughing and everything like that, and having fun, but we weren't like concentrating on the game and defeating the enemies. So this is the boss that I was talking about. This particular boss jumps into portals and then spawns enemies out from inside of her, which the enemies kind of swarm up, and then maybe it's not. Maybe this is just a different enemy. This is just a different enemy. My bad. This is just an easier boss enemy, but the boss after this one, I'm pretty sure, jumps into these portals and literally spawns enemies. Spawns huge groups of enemies, which do together they do massive damage. So if like by themselves, they wouldn't do that much damage and they don't have that much health, but since there's so many enemies spawning at the same time, that's what makes some of these dungeons really hard. Even some of the first dungeons, like the mud crab boss that I have in a different video clip, it was just hard for me and another group of friends to get that boss defeated because he just would spawn so many enemies and they would all do damage at the same time. So what makes some of these spawning enemies really hard, but this guy isn't a spawning enemy. He's just a tank, and usually tanks are pretty easy to defeat, which kind of makes me not want to play PvP, because when a huge group of enemies attacks you in PvP and you're a tank, your health drops pretty fast. It's kind of sad. You almost have to be a damage dealing enemy and stay far back and just do damage and dodge and roll around in order to defeat people in PvP and get further. But who knows? I mean, there's no set way on how to beat this game. And I don't know if there's anyone that's even ever beat this game. I mean, I've met a lot of really high, like level 600 champion level players, but they said that there's even higher levels beyond champion level 600. So I don't know. Someone said that you could get all the way up to champion level 1000. So that's kind of crazy, if you ask me. I'd be putting a lot of time into this game. But anyways, yeah, thanks. I'm gonna be trying to post a lot of content tonight, get as much stuff out there and get my space freed up for my game DVR. So yeah, look forward to some more videos, and also if you do like the videos that I post, make sure to put a like and a subscribe onto my channel. Thanks guys, and